Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and you're watching another episode of Tuesday Night Mania. So let me introduce to you the wonderful gentleman we have tonight here. We'll go ahead and we'll start off with none other than that man that we call Big B. How you doing tonight, my man?
Doing okay. Tuesday, my Saturday, the start of my weekend, so always nice to get out and talk some wrestling.
All right. And then we can jump to that man that we call our fearless leader, Mr. William Hudson from TRC. How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm great, Ace. What's up, everybody? Got a lot of great stuff to cover this week. Glad to be back. So I'm ready to roll.
All right. And then, of course, last but not least, he's got to come in with the theme, Joe. How's it going tonight, Joe?
Doing good, guys. Just got home from work, actually. I ran in the house. That's why I'm still in my jacket.
Oh, so you like just made it. You just got here, not
Just made it.
All right. You guys ready to get some rocking and rolling on some awesome topics tonight?
Ready to go.
All right. Ready to go. So how about we go ahead and start out with that little bit of the AEW recap for us. And the person that's going to be doing that for us is none other than that bad man of Joe. So, Joe, go ahead.
Well, as I was telling you guys right before the show, I didn't get to watch a whole lot of AEW. I had a member guest tournament this past week, so I started work at 6 in the morning, got home at 9, and I had to ask you guys if I remember seeing what I saw on there, which wasn't a whole lot of anything. I fell asleep, honestly, after the Christian attack on and Jungle Boy's attack on the Elite there. But what I did see, what I have read, I didn't really miss a whole lot this week. There's not a whole lot of buildup going into their pay-per-view, and unfortunate because I've watched every one of their pay-per-views so far, and I can honestly say I'm not really looking forward to this pay-per-view coming up. I thought the CM Punk talk about John Moxley was really good. I think that needed to get out there and wish John Moxley the best on his situation that he's got going on. I do know that with Moxley being out, that Tony Khan said that has changed up a lot of storylines because Tony actually is a wrestling promoter in a sense that he tries to build out storylines for about 6 months to a year time. And he says with this being Moxley being out for the foreseeable future, it has actually messed up their some of their taping or their storylines, but he's wishing Moxley nothing but the best. But overall, the ratings were down once again. They are continuously drop each and every single week right now. So AEW's got to figure out something here soon because the ratings are really starting to speak for themselves that people are not tuning in anymore.
I will say this. I will say, Will, you actually called this actually several weeks ago when we first started. You're like, it's going to drop. It's going to drop. You kept saying it, and now look what's happening.
Yeah.
The viewership and everything are dropping. So Kev Buckler's live. He's saying, "What's up, guys? TRC." So there you go. All right. So now how about we jump to Will here that can give us the recap of a little bit of Impact Wrestling. So, Will, what happened this week on Impact?
Well, the biggest thing you need to know about Impact right now is, they're really focused on this replay with Alexander getting attacked by Moose cashing in his opportunity. They're trying to set up that whole feud. I tell you what, man, Moose looks like a champion when he walks out to the ring. He cut a tremendous promo. I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but promo he cut about the WWE stars. He doesn't care who they are, what their gimmicks are, all that good stuff. But he's the real world champion, basically. So that's some tremendous stuff. Mickey's got a good build-up with her upcoming feud. I think that'll be good, but I think you'll see Mickey retain for a little while and hang on to it. Mickey's going to want to promote or really give a good push or a pass over to a younger talent. And I don't think it'll be Deanna. I think Deanna will kind of go on and do her own thing. But I think Mickey will drop that belt to someone who is really up and coming. This upcoming women's division with the World of Women or the Women of Wrestling coming up with AJ Lee and all that, that's going to be a big thing, and that's going to end up being a women's all women's show. So I think we got to keep our eyes open for that. As far as the rest of Impact, I didn't really see anything else worth reporting on. Like I said, Moose is kind of taking the Impact world by storm. I still think you'll see Strowman pretty soon. I know right now the big buildup is for the next upcoming pay-per-view again in Las Vegas. So they've got whatever it is going on with that town where, it's a big fight field town in Las Vegas. So their upcoming pay-per-view is back there. And I know Moose is going to be doing some personal appearances and some autograph signings in Las Vegas coming up too. So they're obviously trying to get a good foothold in that market. And, there's a lot going on there. It's a big entertainment center for the world. So a lot of great stuff there. But Impact, as far as, storylines, a little stale this week. I look for it to build up a little better, and hopefully we'll see something good coming up soon.
All right, so that was my only question for you, which I was going to ask you, but you already answered it, because I was going to say, what was your thoughts as Moose being champion? But it sounds like you're definitely okay with it. I wasn't sure.
I think so. I think he looks like a champion. He comes out there. I think he carries it well, and I think he's believable. I don't think, before he cut that promo, I think, it was a little more questionable. But when you look at Alexander and you look at Moose, I think Moose is a believable champion. Now, I think you'll see a big cast in Moose feud for sure. I think that'll be coming up. But then I also think you're going to get Strowman somewhere in the mix too. And ultimately, I think Strowman will hold on to that belt for a little while. And I also, one other little quick point, I think this whole thing with AEW and Impact with the canceling of their contract, I think that'll come to an end pretty quick, and they'll be working together pretty soon again.
Especially if the ratings keep tanking, they're gonna try and do whatever they can to get the ratings back up. Because I wasn't sure how everybody felt originally. When Josh Alexander took on Christian Cage and then won it, and then Moose came down and got it like immediately. So Will, how'd you feel about that? Were you like, you didn't like it?
I liked it. I liked the storyline. I liked how they tried to make it very old school kayfabe. I liked how they did that. The man's wife and child are in the ring, and they have to focus on trying to get him out of the ring. I mean, they really made it look good. It almost reminded me, honestly, of like a Rocky Balboa storyline where maybe Adrian had been in the ring, and here's Rocky who, just fought the fight of his life and won the title, and then maybe, Apollo Creed comes down and challenges him. It was very, very storybook, very kayfabe, and I don't think people really truly saw that coming. And I think that's what made it very good.
All right. So how about we jump into our next topic, which is you saw all these WWE releases that just happened. Now, I did hear a little rumor. I don't know if everybody has heard this rumor, but the rumor that I've heard is simply that the WWE wants to start going a lot younger now. And so especially on the women's wrestling side, they want to try and go with women that are 25 or younger. And for all these people that they bring in, they want to offer them 60-day contracts and see if they can improve in the ring. And if they can't, they're going to let them go. And so these next round of releases, they're saying, it doesn't matter if you're a veteran or you're new or whatever. You could be on the chopping block. If they're not using you and it's not going well, you could definitely be on the chopping block. You saw Keith Lee go, Nia Jax go, which is interesting because a lot of people actually did not have a problem with Nia Jax going. It's these releases were really interesting. So Big B, I'll start out with you. What was your thoughts on all these releases that just happened?
Some of them shocked me. I mean, the Keith Lee one, the Karrion Kross one, Scarlett, I think, was in this release. Moon, Eva Marie. I mean, they just brought Eva Marie back a few months ago. Now they released her again. And then there's some people that are still on the roster that, you're wondering why. Jackson Riker, Elias, some of the other guys that they aren't using. Who was the other one? Smith, Davey Boy's son. They just brought him
Harry?
back. Yeah,
Harry Smith? Yeah.
Released. So
Yeah, but Eva Marie was just not good. Like she
No.
was one that I was like, I kind of saw that coming. I was kind of surprised that Nia Jax got released because I thought that she was kind of a bigger name in the company, but she did have a problem with hurting people in
No.
the ring. So maybe that was kind of a part of it too. So Will, I'm going to jump to you on this one next. What was your thoughts on these releases?
Honestly, with the whole Nia Jax thing, I think they released her because she asked for more time off. I think that's just an old school company mentality is, if you're not ready to work when we need you, then we don't need you. And I think that's what happened there. I don't think it had anything to do with her name in the company or not. I think they used that as an opportunity to show everybody that we don't care who you are. If you're not ready to work when we need you to work, we'll just cut you loose. Biggest disappointment for me, honestly, was Karrion Kross and Scarlett. I've talked a couple times about having a great opportunity to meet them and spend some time with them and get a lot of stuff signed. And I was really disappointed. There's so much talent there, great personalities in real life, not just character wise. Here's the problem. They make them heroes. They make them big stars in NXT. Then they bring them up to WWE main roster. Then they write them a shit storyline. And then once they're in that storyline, then the storyline just sucked. It was horrible. The character they gave him was horrible. And then they say, well, we can't market to you. We can't merchandise you properly. We're not getting you over with the fans. So we're going to let you go. That's the absolute wrong approach. If they had done that with The Undertaker years ago, where would The Undertaker be? So I think, at some point, somebody's got to take some responsibility and there's got to be some accountability backstage. And you're writing these storylines, you're writing these characters, and then when they fail and they flop because they suck, you blame the talent. It's not the talent's fault. The talent's going out there and working their tail out, trying to work the character the best they can. But you wrote them a crap storyline and a crap character. Somebody said, to Karrion Kross, hey, is it possible for me to get that hat you were wearing? And Kross said, nobody wants that piece of shit. So I mean, look right there, and that's terrible. The guy is a great guy in person. Like I said, I got to spend time with him and Scarlett and Shotzi as well. Of course, Shotzi's still there, but out of all the ones that were released, those were the two hardest ones for me to take. I think they'll bounce back very, very quickly. I think they'll both end up in a great promotion somewhere, and they'll be, future world champions of some sort. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them again in the future in WWE. But something backstage has to change very, very quickly, or you're going to see a lot more of this, and it's a shame. As far as the younger thing, the same thing. I think that applies mostly to NXT. As far as giving them their opportunity, that's old school Vince. Vince used to say, I don't give out contracts, I give out opportunities. You come in, you prove yourself, and I'll get you a spot on the card. And I think that's the old school mentality coming back.
Yeah, and the other rumor that I heard that goes along with this too is that WWE felt like they had too much talent, and so they felt like if they dwindled down the roster, they could stick to like main people and have these people have matches, so there's not so many people out there that are doing nothing. And maybe that's what it is, and maybe it's not. It's going to be interesting to see as time goes on. How many more individuals are they going to release? And so, Joe, I'm going to go to you on this one. What is your thoughts on all these releases?
Hey, can I make one point though, real quick?
Yeah.
When Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Ringling Brothers Circus had to take the elephants out of the circus because of the animal cruelty suits and stuff like that, do you know what happened to the circus? It went away. It's gone. And that's exactly what's going to happen in WWE. If they don't write them the storylines proper, they don't give them the proper characters and the proper support, then these guys go out there and sell the storyline all day. People don't buy into it, then there is no WWE. So just a quick point I wanted to make, Ace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, Joe, now it comes to you. Your thoughts on all these.
Tony Khan said it best. The more that WWE releases people, the more that he's going to have newer guys showing up each and every single time. I'm aggravated in a way because I hate Nia Jax went on there for one when she got released. She said that she did ask for more time off. She admitted that. But she also admitted, too, that she wanted time off because of her mental health. She had some mental issues. And WWE released her on that. So if that's the case, then shame on WWE. If she had a mental issue and she needed, time off to collect her thoughts, maybe they should help her. As we've seen, and we'll get into this whole Dark Side of the Ring series, that's all it's been talked about is mental health, mental health, mental health. These guys and gals are on the road, night in, night out. Not as much as they were in the past, but I mean, once COVID gets away and they start getting back to doing what they're doing, these guys and gals are going to be on the road 200, 300 days a year, nonstop. At what point they're going to get wore out and they're going to get their mental issues are going to flare up, So if she needed time off, they should have gave that to her, and they should have helped her with it too, if that's the case. Now, granted, WWE hasn't rebutted to that yet, so who knows? I mean, there's always his side, her side, and then there's the truth in between there. Keith Lee, they said that he had a bad attitude backstage, but when you constantly get stop and go with his thing, as a talent, if I was a talent, I'd be getting frustrated after a while. And he also went on Twitter and said when he was out, he paid for all of his own medical bills with that whole entire heart issue that he had going on. When you're working for a big time company like that, aren't they supposed to take care of your guys? So, and Karrion Kross, same thing. I mean, he was a killer in NXT, which is what we all loved. That's exactly what he was meant to be. And he gets up to the WWE, and either Vince or whoever, they don't know what to do with these guys. They get watered down. If you're an owner, if I'm an owner, it's my job to promote these guys. And when they say, "Oh, we released you because we have nothing for you," well, whose fault is that? Don't you pay writers to write stories, for talent? So the whole "we have nothing for you" is a bunch of bullcrap, in my opinion. It always has been. You pay this talent to be a talent, and who knows the talent better than themselves? So they should be able to promote themselves, be able to come to creative and say, "Hey, I got this ideal," and run with it. And the owner should be the one backing them up. So shame on Vince for not doing his part of the job. I have heard the same thing too about NXT. Was supposed to go back on touring, but now they're talking about not doing touring or no more. They're going to go back to being, like Will said, the development system. So if you want to see this talent, you're going to have to go to Orlando and watch them instead of going out to like our local hometowns around here in our areas and watching them in the community centers and small arenas and stuff like that. Because he wants to start building these guys. But also on that release, they said there was like 10 more guys or gals that was on that list that they didn't do. And some of them were veteran superstars, whether they be in the WWE or NXT. But they said also there was a person in NXT that hasn't been on television for a while who's a veteran. And I was trying to think of who it was, but I couldn't figure it out yet. That was on that chopping block and still may be cut here very soon because they're talking about they may release another whole set of talent, which looks to be over 100 some employees that's been cut since last year.
Which, how far can you continue to sit there and say it's budget cuts? I mean, after a certain amount of time, it's not budget cuts. Now, I really hope that it's not what the speculation was that some of these individuals were released because of their vaccination status. I really hope that that's not true. But we don't know at that point in time if it's actually true.
But when you report in the third quarter that you made all these millions of dollars and then the next day you release talent and even senior staff officials, it's a bunch of crap. How can you go and say it's budget cuts and money issues when you just reported that you made all this money? And in hindsight, Ring of Honor says, "Hey, we lost $12 million this past year." So what do? They shut down the whole entire company,
So welcome in Nicholas Burnett. He's here. He's saying good evening. Welcome in. Good evening. Hope you're having a great night so far. And then welcome in Christy Wilson. She's saying, hey, guys. And no, we actually haven't talked about John Moxley going to rehab. But talking about the whole booking thing that I think it was either Joe or Will. I don't remember. I think it was Will who had mentioned about the bookings. and even going back to the whole roster cuts here for a second though. From what I've heard was that Vince McMahon basically gave Nick Khan control of cutting and whatever. So I don't know if that's true. That Vince McMahon said, Nick Khan, this is completely up to you. If you want to cut people, you go ahead and cut them as you see fit. So has anybody else heard that?
No.
I heard something about that a while ago that
Mm-hmm.
Nick Khan was in control of the talent,
talent,
and stuff,
yeah.
and cutting. But
Well, yeah,
No.
Nick Khan is cutting the town. He's calling them and cutting them, and John Laurinaitis is. But the bottom line is, Vince is the one that has the final say.
yeah,
So Vince is the man that says they stay or they go. So
yeah.
Nick's taking the heat for it. Johnny's taking the heat for it. That's their job because that's the position that they're in. But ultimately, Vince McMahon is the one that signs their paycheck. He's saying, you get cut, you stay, and things like that.
No, I agree. I just wanted to see what people felt about it and to see if they've heard the whole thing too about Nick Khan being able to go out there and say, well, I don't think this person needs to be here, so he goes in there and cuts them.
Well, Vince does listen to him a lot more too for some reason.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's no way that they're going to farm that out to anybody. I think that would be Vince or Triple H or Stephanie. I don't think that's going to be farmed out to any managerial position. But I think, Laurinaitis and I think some of those guys make the calls just like Patterson and Briscoe did years ago, made the calls to the talent. But overall, I don't think anybody's making any real decisions there without running it by the boss.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, what I was going to say is back in the day, 80s, 90s, wrestling was only on for 3 hours a week, possibly. I think they had better storylines and matches than they do nowadays. And they're on 10 hours a week now? I mean,
or more.
Yeah, I just think I definitely think the writing's a lot better than it back then than it is now.
Well, yeah, because you have to think there's something pretty much every night of the week now. The only thing that I can think about, I know like Rampage is on, that's on Fridays, but every now and then I think they have like Dynamite on Saturday every now and then. But other than that, you have Raw on Monday, you have NXT on Tuesday, you have AEW Wednesday, Impact Thursday, and then AEW again on Friday. So you almost have something every single night of the week, and then your pay-per-views are generally Saturday and Sunday. The occasional Thursday if you're like doing the whole Crown Jewel and Saudi Arabia stuff.
You also night SmackDown too. I didn't hear you include that.
Oh yes, and SmackDown on Friday though too. So yeah. All right, so now we can go ahead and jump into our next topic, which is Dark Side of the Ring, which was about the steroid era and stuff in WWE. So, Will, I'll go ahead and let you start out with this one. What was your thoughts on the Dark Side of the Ring steroid edition?
Yeah, Big B and I are going to cover this real quick. But a couple key points. Number one, if you really watched it and then you did any kind of research, any kind of Google, any kind of Wikipedia, and you read some of the information, you really looked at it, man, the folks that went out there and said all kinds of stuff that wasn't really damning to Vince, but was just damning overall. For example, if you listen to the Warlord talk, his whole explanation was, I never bought the stuff from the Vince had backstage because it was too expensive. So there's a damning statement saying that Vince had a guy backstage selling steroids, but he didn't buy them because they were too expensive. And then, you look at the Warrior being in the courtroom, you look at Hogan, they couldn't get him to testify, then they get him to the court. I mean, just a mess. What a mess. And the whole outcome of that whole situation is the idea of the WWF new generation. And, if you think about it, back in 93, late 93, Hogan's gone, Yokozuna's on top, and we're going to cover that late 93 era in the Survivor Series. But you think about SummerSlam 93, you had Lex Luger, big, muscular, incredible body. This guy is built, and you kind of wonder, wow, I wonder if this guy is on steroids. And you always wonder why Lex didn't win the title at SummerSlam. Why didn't Lex go over after they did this summer long cross country tour on a bus and everything else? And then you start watching this steroid scandal, Dark Side of the Ring, and you start reading some of the Wikipedia. It's no wonder, because the whole idea was we got to get these big, muscular, monster-looking guys out of the limelight, and we got to put in some regular-looking guys. A guy that weighs 230 pounds soaking wet from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Let's put the belt on him, and let's make him a champion. Let's make him the number one contender. Those are some humongous takeaways, because if you were watching back then as a kid like I was, you didn't really understand, why is WWF going away from the Macho Man? Why are they going away from the Warrior and the Hogans and all these great big guys? Even Yokozuna, Lex Luger. Why are they going
Hercules.
Bret Hart? Yeah, absolutely. Why are they going with Bret Hart? Why is Bob Backlund taking the world championship off of Bret Hart? What in the world is going on? But as an adult, you start really realizing the stuff, and you start researching it. And plus, my history lesson coming up too, talking about some different things from that era, man, it makes a lot of sense. The new generation was really Vince's way of pushing the steroid scandal as far away from the company as possible. Big B?
Well, and that, I'm pushing it away. It was actually Linda that sent out the memo right away and said, hey, we need to distance ourselves from that doctor as quick as possible. So she's the one that kind of pushed it more. But, like Will said, they went away from a lot of those big guys, the Barbarian, Warlord. I mean, all those guys, they just kind of banished them. I mean, even Blair, B. Brian Blair, he said that the FBI showed up at his house asking him about a couple packages, and they showed him some photos of what the packages was going to be. So they already knew what they were going. They were trying to catch them, and then they bargained with them to testify, and we won't, press charges with you. So,
right.
A lot of things comes out, because I was wondering where, B. Brian Blair's been. Now I know why. But then you got Hogan and Warrior that, testified, not testified. I don't know. I didn't really finish watching it. But they went up against, from what I know, they went up against Vince McMahon, but they brought them back in the limelight, a few years later. So to me, it was, eye-opening, what the Warlord said and Blair said and, all those guys. Once you found the connection, you knew where to go and get them. And the doctor said, oh, if they don't have it, come talk to me. I'll make sure you get it. So,
hey, what did you think about the part when they said they didn't want Hogan to testify because it could damage his career?
Yeah. I think not testifying would have damaged his career more, hiding something. I mean, I'm a big Hogan fan, like many kids were, but it's just, I mean, Vince brought him back anyways after years apart and stuff. I mean, he's still a big name. I mean, shoot, they bring him out now and he would be a big name. So, but yeah, it was kind of shocking that they try to push him away right away, and everybody's questioning why are they getting these other guys to testify but not Hogan? So.
You know what was really funny during that era? So Hogan goes to WCW, right? He goes and has this humongous run, and WCW doing all they can to battle WWF at the time and put him out of business. But you never heard WCW talk about that scandal. You never heard them really, slander it like they could have, because they took the number one culprit into their company, made him their number one guy in WCW. What a great way to have bashed WWF at the time, was slamming them on that scandal, but they couldn't, because they took the biggest culprit of all and made him the leader of their company.
Well, and back then you wouldn't talk about the other company, in any promo. I think it was Eric Bischoff when the Monday Night Wars started is when it started coming out. Hey, don't tune to the other guys because they just made so-and-so their champion, stay here.
Right.
We're seeing more promos cutting down the other competition lately, so
Right.
Back then it wasn't really thought of, but I get your point, Will.
Yeah.
You're not going to bash a company where you just took the number one guy that's involved in this. You're not going to bash them. So
yeah, isn't that crazy to think about? And they didn't want to make him testify because they were afraid it would hurt his career.
Yeah,
that's
well, they probably would have. I mean, but we just never know.
in the real world, that doesn't work that way.
No.
But somehow, also too, another point I wanted to make too, with Vince kind of getting away with the whole thing and getting out of the whole thing. Did anybody else think of, Vince had his own version of the dream team in that courtroom, kind of like OJ did in his court?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was like a dream team. It's not a matter of, I did or I didn't do it. It's a matter of how much of it can you really prove?
Yeah.
Well,
didn't Jim Ross come out and said that if he needed the lawyer, he would call up Vince's lawyer?
Yeah.
He was that good?
Absolutely.
So,
and then the whole thing about, the secretary mixed up some dates on the stand, saying that some boxes were delivered to Hogan. And because the dates were mixed up and Hogan wasn't in that town at that time, they used that as a way to acquit the case.
Yep.
It wasn't a matter of guilty or not guilty. It was a matter of how much can you prove. Kind of reminds me of Denzel Washington in Training Day. It's not what you can prove. I mean,
wasn't there an episode of Donahue too? That they try to get Vince tied up his words, and he's like, "No, I didn't say that." But then one guy's like, "Yeah, you told me that backstage, or
Dave Meltzer said that on that episode.
Yeah. So,
would you ever wonder why Dave Meltzer never really continued and was never really added in WWE to anything? There you go. He pissed off Vince at one time, and he was cast down and out.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like, do you speak the truth or do you hide it and stay with your company? I mean, Vince has got some power. I mean, nobody can deny that.
Absolutely.
Here's the best takeaway from that, guys. What I thought was awesome was Nails came in there after he already got fired for choking Vince, as we all know. And he says, Vince made me take steroids. But the dude's in a freaking jumpsuit, man. If you're on steroids, wouldn't you want to show off that body of yours?
Yeah.
Come on now. I thought that was just a ridiculous thing on that part there. I laughed at him like, oh my God, if I'm on steroids, I'm gonna show that off, man. That's my moneymaker right there.
But
not a jumpsuit.
Joe, Nails was so hard to work with and get along. He left WWF and went immediately to WCW, and they put him in an immediate feud with Sting. You remember that?
Yeah, and they called him the convict.
Yeah, they called him the convict, and he couldn't get along over there. They released him almost immediately.
Yeah, because he had that little feud with the boss, which they couldn't call him the boss. They called him the Guardian, and that didn't last very long. But yeah, he went over there, became the convict. I mean, his best run was in the AWA.
They called him the boss at first, remember? And then they changed it the following year to the Guardian.
Yep. But the steroid trial for me, I thought that was a good one. I did like when they had Hogan in there because Hogan would not testify against Vince. And when he did, he said he never got the stuff from Vince at all, which I think kind of saved the trial a little bit there. But McDermott was smart. I mean, he said he already helped Hogan earlier with some issues and then figured out, well, he can't really defend the WWE and have Hogan involved in it because it's going to be a conflict. So he's going to defend one side, and he's going to have that girl defend the Vince side. They're going to have like you said, the dream team in there. So, man, if I ever got in trouble, like JR said, man, I'd be calling Jerry McDermott in a heartbeat. That guy has got a lot of people off of trouble, even including all the way back. You figure probably back in that plane ride from hell episode, he was a part of that. So he saved Vince a lot of money over the years. He's probably Vince's number one payroll man, overall. But Hogan wouldn't testify, really. He said that he didn't do it. And what I found out, too, when we were talking about the WCW thing, when Hogan got out of there, if you guys see, when he was getting in the limo or whatever car he was getting into, they asked him about something, and he said, watch the pay-per-view this weekend, which was the Bash at the Beach or was it the Bash at the Beach? It was a pay-per-view they're getting ready to go into. He goes, watch it this Saturday. But he wouldn't name what it was, but he was telling everybody to watch it. But I seen Rick Rude come out of there and things like that. So I seen some guys I didn't remember that was a part of that trial. But every guy that you looked at was all bodybuilder type characters. And they didn't get anybody in there that looked like you or me. And probably maybe those guys that looked like you and me, they were on steroids. But since they didn't look the part, they didn't call them in there, and maybe they should have, and maybe we would have had a whole different situation out of that thing. But
I agree.
Jerry Jarrett, Vince was almost sure that he was going to get in trouble for a while. If you remember, Jerry Jarrett came in there. He was going to run the promotion for Vince in case everything went down. And
Yeah.
just think, I mean, if Vince would have been found guilty, we would have a whole different
Oh yeah, he was facing
there
what,
wouldn't probably be a
8 to 10
WWE
years?
around right now. What's that?
He was facing what, 8 to 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had everybody set up to come in and run the company for him just in case. But like I say, if those guys were running the company, I'm sure Vince would be like a mafia member running the thing from behind the prison door walls. But you know, his company would have been a whole lot different.
Yeah, I thought that there was some kind of repercussions that WWE got. I thought they ended up with, maybe not, but I thought they ended up with like some kind of fine or something like that.
There was fines, but ultimately, when you talk about the trial, you're talking about whether or not WWE gets closed down and whether or not Vince goes to prison. You know, so as far as the guilty, not guilty, you know, I mean, Vince is not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and with his neck brace, they say he was trying to get that for sympathy. I still think he did, but smart on his part, like Jerry said, hey, he's going to be off TV for a while. Let's get that neck surgery done. So
Yep.
it kind of worked out in his favor a little bit there too.
Absolutely.
Vince is smart.
Then they
Vince
come
is
out
very
right away
smart.
after, before the trial too, and you know, Vince had that press conference, say they're going to implement a drug
Yeah.
screening process and stuff like that. So
Then he
No.
calls out that girl on television. I don't remember that part where, in real life, where he that girl that they found was talking to the reporter who happened to be her husband, who was trying to get information from other reporters, and wasn't she on uh, his case as on his defense team?
Part of his legal team.
Yeah.
But that was another one of those, you know, technicalities where, you know, you had to remove evidence from the courtroom. Again, you know, if the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit kind of thing.
All right. So how about we go ahead and jump into our next topic, which is it's the Wrestling Historical Moments Survivor Series 1993 coverage of event. So Will, you started with the last one. So I'll go ahead and I'll have Joe start out with this one. So Joe, Survivor Series 1993.
Actually, I'm going to pass it off to the historian there, and I'll follow suit from him.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Yeah. So just a little coverage. This is the official program from the Survivor Series 1993 Survivor Series, and wow, what an incredible Survivor Series it was, guys! I highly recommend watching it. So, guys, this is one of my all-time favorite events ever. I literally go back and watch this event every single year around Thanksgiving time since I was a kid. One of my absolute favorite Survivor Series. You know, we talked about Lex being a bodybuilder, being the muscle guy. You know, he goes to SummerSlam, wins by count out at SummerSlam. So they build up this humongous feud between Lex and Tatanka and the Steiners against all these foreign fanatics, they called them, Yokozuna, Ludwig Borga, and the Quebecers. Well, then as it gets a whole lot closer, they don't end up running that program. They end up running Lex, the Undertaker, and the the Steiners against Yokozuna, and then Brock joined Yokozuna, Ludwig Borga, and Jacques Rougeau, one half of the Quebecers. So, you know, they really mixed it up. They started a feud right before this, a couple weeks before this, where Ludwig Borga takes out Tatanka from the main event. You know, he's put on the shelf, as they call it. Lex Luger takes out Pierre of the Quebecers. So they have Crush turns heel like 3 weeks before this happens, turns on the Macho Man, drops him on the guardrail. You know, I mean, really, really incredible build-up, really believable, incredible build-up at the time. I highly recommend watching it. So overall, at the end of the day, Lex Luger survived, the only survivor. Sets up all kinds of incredible feuds. Luger goes on to win the 94 Royal Rumble, co-winning with Bret Hart a couple months later. Yokozuna goes on to feud with The Undertaker for the World Championship. The Steiners and the Quebecers continue to feud. You know, some good deals there. Steiners win the belts, Steiners drop the belts, and then Steiners ultimately end up leaving, going to Japan. And Some other great matches on that card. The opening was Razor Ramon, Macho Man Randy Savage, Marty Jannetty, and the 1-2-3 Kid against IRS, Rick Martel, Adam Bomb, and Diesel. Really good match. Another good match. Next match on the card ended up being Bret Hart leading a team of Owen Hart, Bruce Hart, and Keith Hart against Shawn Michaels and his Knights, which is a really good one too. His brothers versus Jerry Lawler and his Knights, but Jerry Lawler gets caught up in a legal scandal outside of the ring with an underage girl, so he's suspended from WWF. So they have to hurry up a few weeks before time and make Shawn Michaels into the feud and bring his own Knights, and really good stuff. Out of all the Survivor Series as I've seen, I would give this Survivor Series a 10 out of 10. I would highly recommend going back and watching it. You also had the 4 Doinks, which was Mo Doink, Mabel Doink, Luke Doink, and Butch Doink.
Butch Doink.
Facing Bam Bam Bigelow, Bastion Booger, and the Head Shrinkers. I mean, this was true WWF when the characters were rolling. I mean, it was really good. So I highly recommend it, guys. Overall, 10 out of 10 for me. I watch it every year at Thanksgiving time. It's traditional, like watching Planes, Trains, Automobiles. I watch that every year in the month of November before Thanksgiving as well. So highly recommended. Joe, what do you got to add?
Golly, bro. I was just looking up some Wikipedia here, man. I'm going to give them a shout out here. Tatanka was on a 2-year winning streak all the way up until he lost to Ludwig Borga. Let's talk about that, man. Goldberg. They talk about Goldberg's streak. Tatanka had him destroyed.
Yeah.
On that.
So Tatanka's on Superstars against Ludwig Borga about 3 weeks before the Survivor Series, and Mr. Fuji comes out waving the flag, distracts the referee. Ludwig Borga pulls out a chair, slaps Tatanka across the back, rolls him in the ring, and pins him with one finger, disgracing the undefeated at the time Native American Tatanka, which really builds all kinds of heat for Ludwig Borga at that point, because everybody believes that Ludwig Borga is really going to be a number one or a main heel right behind Yokozuna, who at the time is the world champion. So huge stuff going on there. And, you know, I think had it not been for the steroid scandal, had it not been for the whole push of the new generation, Lex wins the world title. Lex carries it through, a good portion of 94, probably a good portion of 93 as well. Probably some big feuds with Yokozuna as well. But, you know, because of the steroid scandal, a lot of things changed really, really quickly. And I've had the opportunity myself to have one-on-one conversations with Lex Luger about these events. And I've also got Tatanka coming as my guest at WrestleCade in about 2 weeks. And I look forward to talking to him one-on-one about what happened and how they decided to take him out of the match and put Undertaker in and all that stuff. So I'll definitely follow up with you guys and give you some feedback on what he has to say.
Yeah, and the attendance for that was 15,509, which generated 180,000 in ticket sales. They say it was the lowest attendance for a Survival Series event since 1989. The pay-per-view buy rates was 0.82, down from 1.4 the previous year, and was the lowest buy rate in Survival Series history to that point.
Yep.
The aftermath of it was we get a lot of great storylines. We get Owen Hart going on to challenge Brett. We have what was supposed to be the continuation between Tatanka and Ludwig, but unfortunately, Ludwig Borga got an ankle injury, a legitimate injury. He did not get to compete at the Royal Rumble, and Ludwig's done with the WWE at that point. He's gone. As you said, the Steiner brothers continue with the Quebecers, unable to capture the championships. The Undertaker, as we know, went on to face Yokozuna at the Royal Rumble, the casket match, which was famous for them putting Undertaker in there. Undertaker's off of TV until SummerSlam, which we have the two takers that do battle, which will be a whole nother episode down the road there. So we got a lot of good storylines. It was the first WrestleMania that Undertaker missed, but going into it, we had a lot of good matches. The continuation of the Crush Randy Savage storyline was just starting to kick off again. What else did we have? Bam Bam was feuding with Doink, but then all of a sudden it canceled for a while. Remember, it went quiet.
Yep.
and picked up going right into WrestleMania again.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, Razor
uh,
IRS developed their feud there too.
and
They-
other than that, it was Razor still continuing his feud with IRS, but this was the build for WrestleMania.
Well, it also too they had Diesel look like a big unstoppable monster in that Survivor Series, and then remember he goes on to the '94 Royal Rumble and eliminates more participants than anybody else in the ring.
100%.
Yep, and then it becomes the year of Diesel. By the end of that year, by Survivor Series, he's the world champion.
Yeah, he's like, wasn't he like one of the first double champions at the time? He had the Intercontinental and the Tag Team title at the time.
No, he had the tag title with Shawn.
Okay,
Remember they split up in Survivor Series, and it's like 2 days later
he wins.
from Bob Backlund at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's right.
He dropped the IC belt at SummerSlam to Razor.
Right.
Big B, did you have anything to say about this?
No, I mean, it was a good, Survivor Series. Like Will said, the biggest match I always remember is the Hart family match. Because Owen was the only one to get eliminated, and that kicked off that feud there. So,
Yes.
Oh, we can't forget either, man. We had a Smoky Mountain Championship Wrestling Tag Team title match on there. The
Yeah.
Heavenly Bodies and the Rock and Roll Express.
You can forget that one.
That was actually that was 13-minute match, man. That was the longest match actually was the Hart family match. Came in at 30 minutes on there.
yeah,
The All Americans
I
came.
forgot about that. How did that ever come about to be on the card? Do we know?
What's that? The Hart families?
No, the Smoky Mountain title.
Because WWE was working with
Yeah.
Smoky Mountain, but I think
Okay.
that was probably just a filler match. It was like they had so many going on, they had to have something that was going to quiet the crowd down a little bit. But then they went right into the Doinks versus Bam Bam. So you got to have a comedy match in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So Lee King says John Cena and Sasha Banks and Ryden 2026B all return. Huh?
Huh?
Elaborate.
Yeah. I need a better tweet on or message on that because I didn't quite understand that.
Yeah.
Sasha's back.
Yeah, Sasha's back, and John Cena is still going to be one that's going to hit and miss and come back and return and come back. But who is Ryden? I don't.
Did he mean Ryback?
Maybe. I don't know. That's the thing. So if you could elaborate on that, that would be fantastic.
But I can tell you, I saw a whole bunch of little care emojis go up through the air on the comments. I don't know. Somebody cares about that. I don't know.
All right. And then also Lou Thompson is also here. So before we get to our final one of the night, let me ask you guys really quick, when it talks about Survivor Series, because this was actually a legitimate question that has been going around on Facebook. So it's kind of funny that one of our topics tonight that we're talking about was Survivor Series, because the question was, what was the greatest Survivor Series of all time to you? So Joe, what was the best one of all time?
It's a toss-up. I liked the 1990 version because it had a lot of great superstars in there. I mean, Hogan and the Warrior and the Macho Man and the Heenan family. And then my other one I thought was really good, but 90 is going to be my best. The other one was when they had the winning teams versus winning teams at the finale of the Survival Series match.
That was 90 also.
Was that 90?
Yeah.
That came down to Hogan and Warrior on the same team? Oh,
Yeah.
see, there you go. 1990 was probably my absolute favorite just because of that era. And then they started kind of going away from the whole Survival Series concept of it. Just like this year here. I mean, all of a sudden, we find out who's all on the Survival Series teams by a tweet that went out.
Mm-hmm.
There's no build-up to the Survival Series anymore, which is a shame because I thought it was really good. It was a continuation of storylines back when you had the big 4 pay-per-views. It gave you something to look forward to. And you had all these major feuds going on, but now it's just another pay-per-view, unfortunately.
Well, I really think the only buildup that's been happening is Big E against Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. That's really been
Roman takes it, unfortunately. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Roman's
Oh, yeah.
the face.
Yeah, he's gonna take it, but I'm just saying that's really been the only build-up so far that we have really seen. All right, so Will, what was your favorite Survivor Series?
1993, hands down. Literally, like I said, man, I watch it every single year. It's just a tradition for me. I loved it as a kid. I still love it now. I like to say I find parts that I forgot about or I missed or whatever. But even the commentary, man, if you go back and you listen to it and you watch it and listen to Bobby Heenan, that was the last WWF pay-per-view that Bobby Heenan commentated for.
Oh,
If you go back and listen to the comments that he made, the guy is just hilarious. And I would highly recommend if you're going to watch one this year for November for Thanksgiving time, because Survivor Series was always a Thanksgiving tradition. I would highly recommend watching it at least one good time. Don't fast forward it. Watch it all the way through. It might take you a couple of days because back then we could sit through a 3-hour pay-per-view and it was nothing. But nowadays, you know how it is. We fast forward through everything. But I would highly recommend watching it. Listen to the commentary. Listen to the matches. There's a point in the main event match where Yokozuna slams Undertaker's head into the stairs, and you hear Bobby Heenan scream, and then the Undertaker will slam Yokozuna's head into the stairs, and you'll hear Bobby scream even louder. So it's really good stuff, man. I highly recommend it. If you're gonna watch a pay-per-view coming up, put it on your card, write it down, put it on your DVR, your Peacock network, whatever. Survivor Series 93, you will not regret it, I promise you.
All right, and then Big B, you're the last one on this. Your favorite Survivor Series?
From the original up until probably 93, 94, and then they started kind of getting away from building it up. I like the 5-man tag, 4-man tags. They got a lot of superstars in the matches. I mean, it was good growing up. 1990, 93, probably, yeah, were two of the best. A few years ago, I would have said the one they involved NXT was a pretty good one too. So I enjoyed that one where they had the 3 brands in. So you can't go wrong with Survivor Series. You got all that superpower, star power, but nowadays it doesn't have the build up like it used to.
Right.
Well, it looks like our man Joe's back. He's back. All right.
Dude, I'm just looking at this thing and all of a sudden just kicks me off of here out of nowhere. I'm like,
so now we can jump into our final topic, which is a personal experience with meeting a wrestler. Hey, I told you all the experiences that I've already had. I haven't really met a whole lot of them. Last week I told you, well, not last week, but a couple weeks ago I told you about the 2 that I met. Big B, I don't know. Did you have any other ones?
Well, last week I talked about meeting Larry Sabisco at the airport when I was working at the restaurant McDonald's, which was pretty cool. And I saw him in line and he gets closer and I'm staring at him, because you and Will missed this one. So, I'm looking at him. I'm like, I knew who he was, but I couldn't put the name to his face. And he got like 2 people away from me. He's like, dude, you're thinking way too hard. And once he spoke, the name popped in my head. I was like, Larry, the living legend Sabisco. We chatted for a little bit. He goes, oh, I guess I am up in the AWA country, I'm like, yeah, dude. I mean, you're one of the guys I grew up watching and, got a little autograph from him. But, the other one that I enjoyed was, Hogan for sure. I enjoyed meeting him week after he signed with TNA. He had a book signing here in Minnesota, so I went to that. It was at 7:00. I was at the signing at 12. I wasn't missing that one. But then I met the Big Show at a Walmart signing during one of the releases of the video game, and it was snowing out. And one of the Walmart managers, I think it was, came up to the show, and he's like, "Dude, we got to wrap this up." He's like, "No, I'm not wrapping it up. It's snowing out there. These guys came in. We're making sure each one of these guys gets an autograph." So, so he kind of told them where to go.
That would be a cool experience. All right, Will.
So just kind of to continue with the theme, I'll talk a little bit about not the first time or the second or any of those times, but we'll talk about when I met Lex and had a private signing with him earlier this year. I've met Lex on multiple occasions, and I asked him flat out, I said, when I was a kid, I was like 11 years old. SummerSlam 93 was a huge deal for me. I really believed in Lex. And, I'd always heard wrestling was fake, but, as a kid, you still believe in it. You believe it. And, I asked him, I said, why didn't you win the world title? Why didn't, I understand now as an adult, it's not really winning it. They make decisions to put the belt on you or not. And his only real answer was because Vince told me that if I'm going to put the belt on you, it's going to be at Madison Square Garden, because Madison Square Garden is such a big place for me that, I remember when my dad was running WWF and watching through the curtain and how big MSG was for him, that if he was going to put the belt on Lex, it was going to be at MSG, and it wasn't going to be at the Palace of Auburn Hills in Detroit, Michigan. So, it was really kind of an underwhelming answer to the question. Like, I think all these years I wanted some sort of a big story about how it was going to happen and something changed last minute or whatever. But, it seems almost like there was never a real plan going into SummerSlam to put the belt on Lex, which I always thought was really strange because the buildup was so tremendous. And, you had the situation on the Intrepid where Lex slams Yoko and all that. So,
Oh yeah, they hyped him up really good.
yeah, so I was really disappointed in the answer, but I understand that that's the real truth and the real answer. So, and then you fast forward like 6 months later, and Lex does have that match with Yoko in Madison Square Garden at WrestleMania 10, and they make the decision a couple days beforehand that we're not going to put it on Lex again because of the steroid trial, which we discussed earlier, which it all kind of plays in together. That they ended up putting it on Brett right there at WrestleMania 10 in Madison Square Garden. And, the rest is history. Brett goes on to carry it and has a tremendous 1994 until the Survivor Series. So that's my experience.
All right,
Yeah,
Joe, how about you?
Wasn't it like a month or two after that, Lex goes back to WCW
The following year.
following year? Okay.
Joe?
No, I got no more, but I'll comment on that, on Will's thing. That was at the SummerSlam was at United Center. They just opened the United Center. That's when that one was the big build for when Lex was supposed to win the championship there instead of Palace of Auburn Hills.
No, the United Center was 94. Lex's big build was 93 at the Palace of Auburn Hills in Detroit.
God dang it, am I wrong on that? No, I'm going. Internet never lies, man.
The United Center was Brett and Owen and Taker versus Taker in 94.
Gosh dang it, Will.
Lex and
That's it.
Yoko was
I'm done
Palace.
for it. I'm done for the night, guys. I'm done. No, I seen pictures of like, and I believe there's video out there. Is there not, of like Lex walking around? Because there was always that rumor that there was videos and pictures, and I've seen the pictures, and I'm pretty sure there's the videos out there too of Lex walking around with the Winged Championship belt, and people were like, "Well, since it's already out, Vince isn't going to." All right, fine, you win. Okay, you win this one tonight.
Yeah, I don't think I would argue with Will on too many wrestling.
There'll be others,
dates
man.
and stuff.
I will get my revenge. I promise. But he looked really good with that Winged Championship. That's probably my favorite championship belt. I mean, I just love the way that thing looked, and on him it looked really, really good. It's unfortunate he never did. But yeah, there was always that rumor too that people showed videos and pictures of it.
Yeah,
and that Vince is like, nope, he's not going to be champion because now everybody knows, which obviously was never the case.
they recorded Wrestling Challenge and they recorded Superstars with them introducing the new champion, Lex Luger, coming out. And then they ended up editing it from taping like it never happened.
Yep.
Well,
yeah, I
just
think
like
there's videos on YouTube too. I've seen it.
Hearts, you know.
I think it was called Inside Wrestling. I think it was called Inside Wrestling Magazine, where you see Lex standing on the front cover and he has the winged eagle around his belt. And it says Lex takes the championship home from Yokozuna. But that never happened.
Right. And then Mean Gene interviewed him, and then they went from the podium and he walked to the ring and like threw the belt in the ring and
right,
walked around with it, and then went back up and did the interview with Mean Gene with the championship. And
yep. But there's
that's unfortunate.
magazine cover with Lex standing there with his arms in the air with the winged eagle, and that never happened.
All right, well, we are at that hour mark now, so we're going to go ahead and kind of give our final thoughts. So, Big B, you got about 30 to 45 seconds to go ahead and wrap up any final remaining thoughts.
It's always good to get with you guys and chit chat wrestling. I know big time wrestling this week in Minnesota here coming up. AEW's got 2 shows plus the pay per view. So unfortunately, I won't be there to live. I got to work, so the family stuff comes first. But wish I was there. I know some people are there, so I'm going to get in contact with them and get their reactions to it so I can share with you guys next week if I hear anything. So, but outside of that, thanks for everybody commenting, and we'll check you guys all next week.
All right, and then Will, any final remaining thoughts for you?
Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Thank you to Top Rope Collectibles for all the support. Continue to support us over here on Coast to Coast Network. And thank you for having me on, man. I always have a great time talking history. And, man, I really encourage everybody and anybody that listens to us, go watch that pay-per-view. It's old school WWF wrestling. It's really, really good stuff. So go check it out. Have a great night, everybody.
All right, Joe, any final thoughts?
Nah, guys, enjoy your guys' week. Like Will says, check out that pay-per-view. It's really cool because it's the only time you're going to see the Undertaker with the American flag inside of his trench coat. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
That's how he introduced that he was going to be a part of the team. So that is a collector's edition. If I'm sure he has it, but if somebody does have it, man, that's awesome. But yeah, check it out. It's like Will says, it's good pay-per-view. Check out these guys on Sunday nights, man. These guys are rocking and rolling. They got some really cool stuff. They had some cool stuff this past week. They were selling out.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, and we definitely want to thank everybody for watching. And don't forget, Sunday night you can also catch an episode of Between the Ropes also. And that's just a breakdown of Raw and SmackDown. And yes, Lee King, hello, and Isaiah. No, you are not allowed to hop on and talk about wrestling. You have no idea what the heck you're talking about. All right, so anyways, with that, everybody have a fantastic night, and we will see you next Tuesday for another episode of Tuesday Night Mania. Have a great night.
Good night, guys.